The Ring camera footage loops on the evening news at 6:47 a.m. Grainy, dramatic, 15 seconds that change everything. An elderly man in a bathrobe moves through the pre-dawn darkness of a suburban cul-de-sac, searching. The anchor calls it concerning behavior. The nephew calls it proof. But no one asks what Harold Brenner was actually doing at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Because by the time anyone thinks to ask, the guardianship papers have already been filed. In the modest craftsman bungalow on Maple Ridge Drive, Harold and Vivian Brenner sit at their kitchen table watching themselves become a problem that needs solving. 17 missed calls. 3 relatives suggesting it might be time. One nephew who's already made the appointment at Meadowbrook Senior Living, paid the deposit from their own account, $8,000 they never agreed to spend. The footage doesn't show Ptolemy, their escape artist cat, finally caught and sleeping smugly on the couch. It doesn't show Officer Daniels writing "no concern" in his report. It doesn't show the half-finished grab bar in Harold's workshop, designed for the neighbor down the street who fell last month. It shows what people expect to see when they look at someone Harold's age: confusion, decline, danger. But when Iris Kowalski pulls into their driveway 3 days later, sent to assess their unsafe living conditions, she brings 40 years of reading documents that powerful people hoped would stay buried. She expects clutter and chaos. She finds patents and thank you letters. She expects confusion. She finds a pattern. Have you ever watched someone's competence dismissed simply because they needed help at the wrong moment? Stay with us to discover how 3 inches of documentation, 11 determined neighbors, and 1 woman who refused to look away prove that the most dangerous thing in this story wasn't an elderly couple living their lives. It was the system designed to strip them of the right to keep living it. This is what really happened. The coffee maker gurgled its morning promise at 6:32 a.m., the same sound Harold Brenner had heard for 42 years in this kitchen. He reached for his favorite mug, the chipped one Vivian kept threatening to throw out, and noticed his phone screen blazing with notifications. 17 missed calls. Viv? He moved toward the bedroom, but she was already in the living room, laptop open, hands trembling against the keys. Harold? Her voice carried that particular flatness that meant trouble. We're on the news. The footage looped on Channel 7's website, grainy and dramatic in the way Ring cameras always were. 15 seconds of Harold Brenner, age 78, moving through pre-dawn darkness in his bathrobe and slippers. Checking behind cars, peering into hedges. The anchor's voiceover used words like concerning behavior and elderly resident, with that special emphasis that turned facts into warning signs. Harold watched himself on screen, a stranger in familiar clothes. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m. Tuesday. He remembered that morning perfectly. The crash from the living room, Vivian calling his name. Ptolemy's empty bed by the heating vent. Their Maine Coon had jimmied the screen door again, and Harold had spent 12 minutes tracking the escape artist through the cul-de-sac before finding him behind the Wynn's recycling bin, looking smug. Officer Daniels wrote "no concern" in his report, Harold said, pointing at Ptolemy, who was currently sleeping on the couch in a patch of morning sun, probably dreaming of his adventure. Carol already apologized about the footage. She didn't know the news would... The doorbell interrupted him. Officer Daniels again looking apologetic. Just following up, Mr. Brenner. Standard procedure when footage goes public. Harold walked him through it again. Escaped cat, successful capture, returned to bed by 2:30 a.m. Daniels examined Ptolemy's bed, noted the bent screen door, took photos for his supplemental report. You're fine, Harold, but you know how people get. Daniels nodded toward the window, where Carol stood on her porch, phone to her ear, watching their house. Might want to keep your phone on today. By 9 a.m., 3 relatives had called. Harold's cousin in Michigan. Maybe it's time to think about options. Vivian's sister in Phoenix. I saw a lovely place near me. Individual cottages, full services. Marcus's voicemail. Uncle Harold, we need to talk about your safety. Marcus. Harold hadn't spoken to his nephew in 6 months. Not since he'd stopped returning calls about investment opportunities that always seemed to require Harold's signature. Harold stood in his workshop doorway, staring at the half-finished toilet rail on his workbench. The design was for Phil Castellano, 3 houses down. 81 years old, 2 months post-stroke, determined to stay in his bathroom without his daughter hovering. The rail would mount beside the toilet with one hand, LED strips providing light without requiring Phil to fumble for switches. Dignity through engineering, Harold called it. They think we're losing it, Vivian said from behind him. Harold touched the rail's smooth walnut surface, already sanded and oiled. Let them think. We know the truth. But even as he said it, he felt something shift. That subtle change in air pressure before a storm. The neighborhood was watching now. Carol's camera had turned their Tuesday morning into evidence. And evidence needed interpretation. 17 missed calls suggested the interpretation was already happening, spreading through family networks like water finding cracks. Vivian stood in the doorway, morning light catching the silver in her hair, and Harold saw her hands were still shaking. Marcus Brenner replayed the footage for the 3rd time, his secretary's voice filtering through the closed door. Mr. Chen from Wells Fargo again. He says it's urgent. Everything was urgent lately. The divorce settlement. The condo investment that was supposed to flip in 6 months and had been bleeding him for 18. The credit cards he'd been juggling like a particularly bad circus act. The number in his checking account that had acquired a negative sign last Tuesday. But Uncle Harold was different math entirely. Marcus pulled up the county assessor's website. 2847 Maple Ridge Drive. Purchased 1973 for $42,000. Current value, $580,000. Mortgage status, paid in full, 1994. He'd attended their mortgage burning party that year, back when he was in law school, and they'd seemed impressed by his prospects. He opened his browser history to the tab he'd been revisiting since Monday. Wisconsin Emergency Guardianship Statutes. The relevant section practically glowed. Immediate danger to self or others. Court may appoint temporary guardian. Expedited hearing within 21 days. Marcus spent Monday afternoon at the public library, researching elder care facilities. Tuesday, he bought a slim folder from Office Depot and printed materials from 3 senior living communities, highlighting amenities with yellow marker, the way you'd prepare for a client meeting. Wednesday morning, he drove to Maple Ridge Drive unannounced. Harold answered in work clothes, wood shavings on his flannel shirt. The house smelled like coffee and furniture polish. Marcus. No warmth in Harold's voice, but no hostility either. The neutral tone of someone who decided you weren't worth emotional energy. I saw the news, Uncle Harold. I've been worried. Marcus stepped inside without invitation, setting his folder on their coffee table. I brought some information about places with excellent programs. After the wandering incident, I was chasing the cat. I know. Marcus used his sympathetic voice, the one that worked on juries. But perception matters. That front step, he pointed toward the door, someone could trip. And Aunt Vivian, I noticed she forgot my birthday last year. These little things add up. Vivian appeared from the kitchen. Your birthday is March 14th. We sent a card. You didn't acknowledge it. Marcus felt heat in his face. The point is, you're both at an age where help might be. I think you should leave. Harold said. Marcus left the brochures on the table and drove back to his office, where 4 more creditor messages waited. That evening, he called Dr. Raymond Chen, whose card he'd kept since the Sims case. Chen's practice specialized in what Marcus privately called convenient medical opinions. Thursday afternoon, Chen's letter arrived by email, printed on professional letterhead, carefully worded with phrases like concerning behavior patterns and would benefit from supervised environment. Marcus filed the guardianship petition Thursday at 4:47 p.m. Friday morning, he visited Meadowbrook Senior Living and placed the deposit, $8,000, withdrawn from account number 4721-8856, using the old power of attorney Harold had, signed before his gallbladder surgery 8 years ago. The process server delivered papers to the Brenners at 4 p.m. Friday. Hearing scheduled 21 days out. Marcus sat in his car outside Meadowbrook, watching staff escort an elderly woman toward the building's entrance. His phone buzzed. Wells Fargo. He declined the call and opened his calculator app, running the numbers again. 21 days. Harold and Vivian would resist at first. They always did. But resistance required resources, and eventually, tired people made reasonable decisions. Marcus had learned that from previous cases. Exhaustion was its own form of leverage. Iris Kowalski pulled into the driveway at 8:58 a.m., 2 minutes early out of habit. Her 12-year-old Civic looked apologetic next to the neighbor's newer SUVs, but Iris had stopped caring about automotive shame around the same time her pension fund collapsed. She checked the court-ordered assessment form clipped to her board. Wellness evaluation, Brenner residence, concerns unsafe living conditions and cognitive decline. Standard language that could mean anything from hoarding to dementia. Iris expected clutter. She expected confusion. She expected the particular smell of elderly people who'd stopped noticing their surroundings needed attention. Harold Brenner answered on the second knock, fully dressed in pressed khakis and a button-down shirt, offering a firm handshake. "Ms. Kowalski, come in. Coffee?" The house was modest but immaculate. No clutter, no smell. The living room held furniture from the 70s that had been maintained into respectable vintage status. Ptolemy, the infamous cat, slept on a needlepoint pillow, looking extraordinarily pleased with himself. Vivian appeared from the kitchen with coffee in actual mugs, not the styrofoam Iris usually got on these visits. "Cream and sugar on the counter if you need it." Iris started her standard questions. Medication management, bill paying, meal preparation. Vivian answered each one, then walked to a bookshelf and pulled down a 3-ring binder. Our medical records, organized by year, then by provider. She opened it to reveal divider tabs, color-coded by specialty. Harold's last physical was April 4th. Blood pressure slightly elevated, but Dr. Patel adjusted his medication. Here's the lab work. Iris had done 47 of these assessments in 9 months. Nobody had ever handed her a color-coded binder. "May I see the workshop?" she asked, thinking of the petition's language about dangerous power tools unsupervised. Harold led her through the kitchen to a converted garage. Organized pegboard held tools arranged by type and size. A workbench held a partially completed wooden rail with LED strips integrated along its length. Engineering drawings covered one wall, precise and detailed. "Illuminated grab bar," Harold explained, demonstrating how pressure activated the lights. "For my neighbor Phil. He fell 6 months ago, and his daughter wanted him in a facility. Regular grab bars work, but they're institutional, chrome, cold, medical looking. This one's walnut, warm to touch, provides light automatically when you need it most." Harold showed her 11 thank you letters pinned to a corkboard. Families expressing gratitude for devices that let their elderly relatives maintain independence. 3 patent certificates hung beside them. Iris's assessment was supposed to take 20 minutes. At noon, she was still there, photographing Harold's workshop, copying Vivian's documentation, reading letters from grateful families. Then she saw the bank statement on the counter, partially visible beneath a utility bill. A withdrawal, dated 4 days ago, $8,000. "Did you authorize this?" Iris asked, pointing. Harold and Vivian exchanged glances, the kind of look married people develop after 52 years. "Marcus said it was a hold for touring facilities," Vivian said quietly. "We never toured anywhere." Iris felt something shift in her chest. The particular alertness that came from 40 years of reading documents people hoped would go unnoticed. "May I photocopy this?" Friday evening, Iris sat at her apartment's kitchen table, laptop open, the Brenner assessment form blank on the screen. She should write the standard language. Residence clean and organized. Couple appears to manage daily activities independently. No immediate safety concerns observed. Instead, she opened a new browser tab and searched. Marcus Brenner, attorney at law. His website appeared first. Professional headshot, list of practice areas, testimonials from satisfied clients, personal injury, estate planning, guardianship services. That last phrase made Iris pause. She searched deeper, adding guardianship to his name. 2 results stood out. Loretta Sims, deceased 2019. Eugene Park, deceased 2021. Iris knew how to read public records. 40 years investigating insurance fraud had taught her where information hid. Saturday morning, she drove to the county clerk's office and requested case files. Both showed Marcus Brenner as appointed guardian. Both showed rapid facility placement, Meadowbrook Senior Living in each case. Both estates liquidated within months of the guardianship approval. Loretta's son had filed an objection, dismissed when Loretta died 4 months post-placement. Eugene's daughter tried to contest, but he died 3 months in, before the final hearing. Sunday, Iris drafted 2 reports. The official assessment noted the Brenners' organization, competence, and community contribution. The unofficial memo documented the unauthorized withdrawal, the unsolicited facility deposit, and Marcus's prior guardianship cases with their eerily similar patterns. Monday morning, she submitted both. The official report to the court and her supervisor, the memo to her supervisor only, marked "Concerns for Review." At 11:03 a.m., Janet Russo called her into the office. "Your report says they're competent," Janet said, not looking up from her computer screen. "Marcus Brenner called us this morning. He says you spent inappropriate time with the clients, that you're not qualified to assess cognition, and that you overstepped your role. I documented what I observed. You're suspended from new court-ordered assignments pending review." Janet finally looked at her. "Iris, I need reliable contractors. I can't have attorneys complaining that our assessors are advocating instead of evaluating." Iris drove home, hands steady on the wheel despite the anger building in her chest. Marcus was threatened by her report, which meant he was already moving forward, and he didn't want witnesses who'd contradict his narrative. She thought about Harold's workshop, Vivian's binders, the 11 families whose loved ones maintained dignity because of devices built in a converted garage. She thought about her own pension fund, disappeared into a private equity scandal while regulators looked away. She'd done everything right, worked 40 years, saved diligently, trusted the system, and the system had taken everything. Monday afternoon, Iris drove back to Maple Ridge Drive, not as an employee anymore, as someone who recognized a pattern when she saw one and who remembered what happened when nobody bothered to look. Iris arrived at the Brenners' house Monday afternoon to find Vivian crying at the kitchen table, Harold pacing the length of their small living room like a caged animal. The letter lay between them. Meadowbrook Senior living letterhead, professional and impersonal. We're pleased to confirm your move-in date of June 4th. Thank you for your $8,000 deposit, submitted by your representative, Marcus Brenner. We look forward to welcoming you to our community. 19 days from now. We never agreed to move, Harold said, his voice tight with controlled fury. We never toured the place. We never signed anything. Vivian looked up, her librarian's composure cracked and raw. He used the power of attorney, the one you signed before your gallbladder surgery. Harold found the document in Vivian's filing system. Because, of course, Vivian had a filing system. Iris read the relevant section twice. Limited power of attorney for healthcare decisions. Authority extends to emergency medical expenses only. Does not include authority over real property, financial accounts, or living arrangements except as directly necessary for immediate medical treatment. The language was clear. Marcus had exceeded his authority by roughly $8,000. May I photograph this? Iris asked. Tuesday morning, Iris stood in the county clerk's office for the second time in 4 days, this time requesting files on Loretta Sims and Eugene Park. The clerk recognized her from Saturday, raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Iris spread the documents across a reading table. Guardianship petitions, facility placement orders, estate liquidation records, guardian fee statements. The pattern wasn't just similar, it was identical. Ring camera footage or neighbor complaint. Emergency filing citing safety concerns. Rapid placement at Meadowbrook. Asset liquidation beginning within 60 days. Guardian fees averaging $40,000 per case. Loretta's son David had filed objections, but they were dismissed as family conflict when Loretta died of pneumonia 4 months after placement. Eugene's daughter Angela tried to contest, arguing her father's Parkinson's was manageable at home. But Eugene died of a heart attack 3 months in, before the final hearing could be scheduled. Both deaths conveniently timed. Both estates fully liquidated. Both families left with nothing but funeral expenses and unanswered questions. Wednesday evening, Iris returned to Maple Ridge Drive with a 3-ring binder and tab dividers. Vivian's organizing system seemed appropriate for fighting Vivian's battle. I need you to document everything, Iris said, spreading the binder across their kitchen table. Every conversation with Marcus, every medication you take, with times, every activity, every visitor, every project, date and timestamp, everything. Harold looked uncertain. For what purpose? Because Marcus will claim you're incompetent. We need to prove otherwise, and the best proof is meticulous documentation of competent behavior. Vivian reached for the binder, running her fingers across the empty dividers. I was a librarian for 33 years. I can document. That night, Vivian made her first journal entry. Monday, May 16th. Received unauthorized placement letter from Meadowbrook. Harold and I discussed options. Made dinner, chicken piccata, his favorite. Ptolemy knocked over water glass at 8:47 p.m. We are not confused. We are not incompetent. We are being stolen from. Thursday evening, Iris arrived at the Brenner's house carrying a 3-ring binder and a package of colored tab dividers, the kind Vivian would appreciate. Her suspension had ended with a terse email. Reinstated to non-court cases, maintain professional boundaries. Professional boundaries. Iris had spent 40 years investigating people who exploited loopholes. She knew exactly where boundaries ended and justice began. We're building a case, Iris said, spreading the binder across their dining room table. Medical records first. Every doctor visit for the past 8 years. Vivian disappeared into her home office and returned with a banker's box. Inside, manila folders organized by year, each containing appointment summaries, test results, and medication lists. Harold's blood pressure had been stable for 6 years until Dr. Patel added the new prescription 2 weeks ago, the one that caused nighttime restlessness. Friday, Harold brought his patent applications from the workshop. 3 approved devices, 2 pending. Each application included engineering drawings precise enough for manufacturing, safety compliance documentation, and user testimonials. The illuminated grab bar alone had generated 43 pages of technical specifications. "This proves cognitive function," Iris said, photographing each page. "You can't design medical devices if your brain isn't working." Saturday morning, Iris drove to Phil Castellano's house 3 doors down. Phil answered wearing paint-stained jeans, looking annoyed at the interruption until he recognized her. "You're the one helping Harold and Vivian." "I need to see the grab bar he installed." Phil led her to his bathroom. The device was beautiful. Warm walnut wood instead of institutional chrome, with LED strips integrated along its length. Phil demonstrated. When he gripped the bar, motion sensors triggered soft illumination, bright enough to see without glasses. "My daughter wanted me in a facility after I fell," Phil said. "Said I couldn't manage alone. Harold built this in 3 days. I've been home 6 months now. Independent." Iris interviewed 4 more neighbors that afternoon. Each had similar stories. Harold had assessed their mobility challenges, designed custom solutions, and installed them for the cost of materials. Mrs. Chen was waiting for a bathtub modification. The Richardsons needed a walker with integrated storage. Sunday evening, Iris compiled testimonials into a document titled Community Impact Assessment. 11 families, 23 installed devices, 0 safety incidents. Then her phone buzzed. Email notification from the county clerk's office. Blake Sutherland had filed a motion to expedite the hearing. New date, 11 days instead of 18. The motion claimed emerging safety concerns and attached a neighbor's statement. Harold had been observed operating power tools unsupervised in his garage workshop. Iris read the statement twice. Someone was watching the house. Marcus wasn't just building a legal case, he was manufacturing evidence. She called the Brenners immediately. "Don't work in your workshop with the garage door open. Don't go outside alone. Assume every action is being documented and misinterpreted." Harold's voice was tired. "For how long?" "Until the hearing, 11 days." Iris hung up and stared at her apartment wall. 11 days to prove competence against an attorney who'd perfected exploiting elderly people. 11 days before Marcus's system consumed 2 more victims. She opened her laptop and started organizing evidence. Insurance fraud investigation had taught her one crucial skill: building cases from paper trails that exposed patterns others hoped would stay buried. Marcus had left a pattern. Iris intended to make it visible. Monday morning at 6:30 a.m., Harold reached for the coffee maker and felt his left hand refuse to cooperate. The mug slipped, shattering against the tile floor. When he tried to call for Vivian, his words emerged slurred and incomprehensible. Vivian found him gripping the counter, the left side of his face drooping. She called 911. Then, even as Harold struggled to remain standing, she documented everything in her journal. 6:34 a.m. Harold, facial drooping left side, slurred speech, left hand weakness. Ambulance called. Symptoms began approximately 6:31 a.m. The paramedics arrived 7 minutes later. St. Catherine's Hospital admitted Harold for stroke evaluation. The CT scan revealed what the neurologist called good news in bad circumstances. A transient ischemic attack, not a major stroke. Minor, temporary, caused by a medication interaction between Harold's blood pressure medication and the prescription Dr. Patel had added 2 weeks earlier. By Monday evening, Harold sat up in bed, speaking clearly. moving all extremities normally. The discharge plan involved adjusting his medications and follow-up with Dr. Patel in 1 week. The neurologist's notes described Harold as cognitively intact, appropriate, demonstrating good insight into his condition. Tuesday morning at 9:47 a.m., Marcus arrived with Karen Voss from Meadowbrook Senior Living. They found Vivian exhausted in the chair beside Harold's bed, her journal open on her lap. "Uncle Harold? Aunt Vivian?" Marcus's voice carried practiced sympathy. "This proves my point. You can't manage complex medical situations. The court will see this as evidence you need supervised care." Vivian looked up, too tired to argue. Harold said nothing, but his hands gripped the blanket until his knuckles whitened. Karen Voss smiled professionally. "We have a lovely room available. Private bathroom, medication management, nursing staff, 24 hours. "We're not discussing this now," Vivian said, but her voice lacked conviction. At 10:03 a.m., Iris arrived, having called the hospital earlier to check on Harold. She walked directly to the nurse's station and requested Harold's complete hospital chart. Not as family, but as someone who knew the language of medical documentation and the leverage it provided. She found Marcus and Karen still in Harold's room. "You need to leave." Marcus turned, his practiced sympathy fracturing into irritation. "This is a family matter. This is a medical matter." Harold had a TIA caused by a documented medication interaction, now resolved. He's being discharged with adjusted medications and follow-up care. There's no emergency, no crisis, and no justification for your presence. After they left, Iris photographed Harold doing occupational therapy exercises, speaking clearly with the speech therapist, joking with the nurse about hospital food. Documentation of competence, time-stamped and witnessed. But Tuesday afternoon at 3:15 p.m., Blake Sutherland filed an emergency motion claiming Harold had suffered a major stroke requiring intensive supervision. The hearing was now in 8 days. Marcus was building a narrative of sudden decline, and Harold's actual medical condition was irrelevant to that story. What mattered was the perception of crisis. Elderly man, hospital admission, neurological event. The details could be shaped later. Iris sat in the hospital cafeteria, reading Blake's motion on her phone. 8 days to counter a lie that sounded more believable than the truth. Wednesday morning, Iris called in sick to work, the first time in 9 months. She had 5 days until the hearing and 2 families to find. The drive to Crestview took 90 minutes through flat Wisconsin farmland, giving Iris time to rehearse what she'd say to David Sims. "Your mother's case matters," felt inadequate. "I need your help stopping the man who exploited her," felt exploitative itself. David's house was a modest ranch in a neighborhood of similar homes, teacher salary architecture. He answered the door in sweatpants and a university t-shirt, looking older than 58. "You're the one who called about my mother." Iris nodded. "I'm trying to stop Marcus Brenner from doing to another couple what he did to Loretta." David let her in. The living room held organized clutter, graded papers, coffee mugs, a cat that regarded Iris with suspicion. He pulled a cardboard box from his closet, the kind people use when they can't bear to look at something but can't throw it away either. "My mother was sharp at 82, David said, spreading documents across his coffee table. "She fell in her garden, minor bruise. Marcus had done her estate planning years before. He visited, said guardianship would protect her from liability if she fell again and someone sued. The timeline was devastatingly familiar. Guardianship petition filed within 2 weeks, emergency hearing granted, placement at Meadowbrook within 6 weeks. Loretta's house sold 4 months after placement. She died of pneumonia 2 weeks after the sale closed. "I tried to fight it," David said. But Marcus's attorney, Sutherland, buried me in motions. Every objection I filed, he'd respond with 3 more documents. I was teaching full-time, working weekends at Home Depot to pay my student loans. I couldn't afford an attorney. I couldn't afford to keep missing work for hearings. Iris photographed everything. The guardianship order, the facility bills, $8,900 monthly, the estate liquidation records showing Marcus's guardian fees, $47,000 total, the death certificate. Thursday, Iris met Angela Park at a coffee shop in Madison. Angela arrived in business casual, corporate HR professional, put together despite the grief Iris could see in her careful composure. "My father had early Parkinson's," Angela said. "Manageable. I was helping him at home. Medication reminders, grocery shopping, doctor appointments. Then a neighbor reported him wandering. He was walking his dog off leash. That's it." Marcus filed guardianship using the neighbor's complaint as evidence. Eugene was placed at Meadowbrook before Angela understood what was happening. He died of a heart attack 3 months later, 2 weeks before their scheduled final hearing. The facility bills were $9,200 monthly, Angela said, sliding a folder across the table. "My father's savings were gone in 4 months. Then they started liquidating his assets, house, car, everything. Marcus took $38,000 in guardian fees for 3 months of care." Angela's documentation was meticulous. She'd learned too late that systems reward paper trails. "I could have fought longer. I had the money. But I didn't understand the legal system quickly enough. By the time I found an attorney, my father was dead." Friday afternoon, Iris sat at her apartment organizing depositions from both families. The pattern wasn't just similar, it was systematic. Ring camera or neighbor complaint, emergency filing, rapid placement at Meadowbrook, asset liquidation beginning within 60 days, guardian fees averaging $40,000 per case, deaths within months. Marcus and Blake had refined exploitation into repeatable efficiency. Iris had 5 days to make Judge Delacroix see what she saw. Not 3 unrelated family disputes, but a predator with a system. Saturday morning, Harold came home from the hospital moving carefully, one hand on Vivian's arm as they navigated the front steps. The discharge paperwork listed his medications, adjusted, corrected, no longer interacting. The neurologist's final note said, "Cognitively intact, appropriate for discharge, follow-up in 1 week." But Harold looked diminished in a way that had nothing to do with the TIA. The hospital stay had aged him, or maybe just revealed the aging he'd been hiding through sheer stubborn competence. At lunch, Vivian set down her fork and said what they'd both been thinking. "Maybe Marcus is right." Harold looked at her, waiting. "We're 78 and 76. We're fighting an attorney who does this professionally. You just had a TIA. I'm exhausted from being on every minute, documenting everything, proving we're competent. Maybe we could just go somewhere safe. Let someone else handle things." Harold stared through the kitchen window at his workshop. "And abandon everyone who needs the grab bars? The toilet rails? Mrs. Chen is waiting for her bathtub modification. Mrs. Chen can hire someone. She can't afford to hire someone. None of them can. That's why I build things." Vivian started crying, not the tears of defeat, but exhaustion tears. 52 years of marriage, and Harold recognized the difference. At 2 p.m., Carol appeared at their door with groceries and concern. She found Vivian red-eyed at the kitchen table, Harold sitting in defeated silence. By 6 o'clock, 11 neighbors filled the Brenners' living room. Phil spoke first, standing with one hand on Harold's illuminated grab bar mounted near the bookshelf. Harold had installed it last month when Phil mentioned his balance was getting worse. "Harold's grab bar saved my independence," Phil said. "My daughter wanted me in a facility after my fall. This let me stay home. We don't let them take him." Carol organized a rotation. Someone would check on the Brenners twice daily, document all visits, provide written statements about Harold and Vivian's competence. The neighbors would attend the hearing as witnesses. Sunday morning, Iris arrived to find the support system already functioning. Carol had created a schedule. Phil had recruited 3 more neighbors. Someone had brought casseroles. Iris sat at the kitchen table with Harold and Vivian, spreading out her documentation from David Sims and Angela Park. "This is what Marcus does," Iris said. "He finds vulnerable seniors, manufactures crisis, and liquidates assets. Loretta Sims, Eugene Park, now you. But you have something they didn't: documentation, community support, and time to prepare. We have 4 days until the hearing." Vivian opened her journal. 23 pages of daily entries, each one proving competence through meticulous detail. Harold added quietly, "Let's show them what really happened." That evening, Iris compiled their evidence. Medical records proving stability, patent applications proving cognitive function, neighbor testimonials proving community value, financial records proving Marcus's pattern, Vivian's journal proving daily competence. 4 days to build a case that could withstand an attorney who'd perfected the system of elder exploitation. Iris thought about her own pension, disappeared into a scandal while regulators looked away. She'd done everything right and lost everything anyway. But sometimes the system worked when someone forced it to pay attention. She intended to force very hard. Monday morning, Iris called legal aid services from her car outside the courthouse. The receptionist was apologetic. 30-day waitlist minimum. We're understaffed and overbooked. Iris tried 3 private attorneys that afternoon. The first declined the moment she mentioned Marcus Brenner's name. The second asked for a $15,000 retainer. The third was more direct. "He'll bury you in motions. Even if you win, you'll spend more fighting than the estate is worth." But this wasn't about money. Iris had learned that when her pension disappeared. Tuesday morning, desperate and running out of time, Iris drafted a motion to intervene. She wasn't an attorney, but 40 years of reading insurance contracts had taught her legal language. She wrote clearly, without jargon, explaining who she was and why the court should listen. She attached her documentation: medical records proving Harold's stability, patent applications proving cognitive function, neighbor testimonials proving community value, the medication interaction report proving the TIA was explainable, photos of Harold's workshop proving capability, Vivian's journal proving daily competence, and the depositions from David Sims and Angela Park, evidence that Marcus had done this before. Iris filed the motion at 11:47 a.m. Blake Sutherland's objection arrived by 2:53 p.m. Ms. Kowalski has no standing, no legal training, and a personal vendetta stemming from her suspension. She is a disgruntled former employee interfering in legitimate families' matters. Judge Delacroix scheduled a preliminary hearing for Wednesday at 2:00 p.m. to determine whether Iris could intervene. Wednesday afternoon, Iris wore her best interview suit, the one she'd bought for job interviews after her pension collapsed, before she'd accepted that home health aide work was her new reality. She carried a second binder, this one organized with the precision of someone who'd spent 4 decades building fraud cases from paper trails. Blake Sutherland arrived in a tailored suit that probably cost more than Iris's monthly rent. He argued efficiently. Disgruntled employee, no legal credentials, family dispute, inappropriate boundaries. Judge Delacroix listened without expression, then turned to Iris. "Why should this court allow your intervention?" Iris opened her binder. "Your Honor, I'm a retired insurance adjuster with 40 years of experience reading documentation others hoped would stay buried. I have evidence of a pattern spanning 3 elderly victims: Loretta Sims, Eugene Park, and now Harold and Vivian Brenner. All 3 cases involved Mr. Sutherland as attorney, all involved Marcus Brenner as guardian, all involved placement at Meadowbrook Senior Living, all involved rapid asset liquidation." She slid the depositions across the judge's desk. "Loretta Sims died 4 months after placement. Eugene Park died 3 months after placement. Both estates were liquidated. Marcus Brenner collected $85,000 in guardian fees over 7 months. If this court proceeds without examining this evidence, it risks becoming complicit in elder exploitation." Judge Delacroix read the depositions in silence. 7 minutes passed. Finally, she looked up. "Ms. Kowalski, you have standing. Main hearing is Friday, 10:00 a.m. Mr. Sutherland, I expect full financial disclosures from Mr. Brenner regarding the Sims and Park estates by Thursday noon. This court takes exploitation allegations seriously." Iris walked out of the courthouse at 3:17 p.m. and sat in her car for 5 minutes, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Then she called the Brenners. "We're in. 2 days to prepare." Wednesday evening, Iris arrived at the Brenners' house carrying manila folders that smelled faintly of copy machine toner. Harold cleared the dining table while Vivian brought coffee in mismatched mugs. The kind of hospitality that persisted even during crisis. 2 days, Iris said, spreading documents across the table. "We organize everything tonight. Rehearse tomorrow." They worked in the kind of focused silence that comes from shared purpose. Vivian created dividers: medical competence, financial management, community contribution, Marcus's pattern. Her librarian hands moved with practiced efficiency, color-coding tabs the way she'd organized information for 33 years. Harold assembled his grab bar prototype on the kitchen counter, testing the motion sensors repeatedly. The LED strips illuminated each time he applied pressure. Soft, warm light that made the device look less like medical equipment and more like furniture you'd actually want in your home. "Walk me through the medication interaction," Iris said to Vivian. Vivian pulled out pharmacy printouts, already highlighted. Dr. Patel prescribed the blood pressure medication May 3rd. Harold started taking it May 4th. The nighttime restlessness began May 7th, 3 days later. The package insert lists sleep disturbance as a common side effect in patients over 70. She'd created a timeline poster, complete with dates and medication names in block letters large enough for a judge to read from across a courtroom. "That's perfect," Iris said. "Medical evidence that explains everything Marcus called confusion." Thursday morning, they rehearsed. Iris sat in Vivian's chair, playing judge. "Mrs. Brenner, tell me about your library work." Vivian's voice steadied as she spoke. "I run a tech literacy program every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 2. Current students include Mrs. Okazaki, who's learning to video call her granddaughter in Tokyo. Mr. Henderson, who started using email after his wife died. He was so isolated before." Her hand stopped shaking as she described helping people fight loneliness through technology. Harold demonstrated the grab bar, explaining the engineering. Standard grab bars are chrome, cold, medical. They remind people they're declining. Mine use warm-toned wood, LED strips that activate on pressure, textured grip zones. People use them because they're beautiful and helpful, not because they're afraid. Iris photographed everything. The timeline, the grab bar, Vivian's binder system. Each image time-stamped, each detail documented. That evening, 11 neighbors gathered in the living room. Phil spoke first, gripping Harold's shoulder. "We're all coming tomorrow. Every one of us." Carol had typed witness statements, printed, signed, notarized. Mrs. Chen brought photos of the bathtub modification Harold had designed for her mother. The Richardsons offered testimony about the walker with integrated storage that let their father maintain independence. Vivian made her final journal entry at 8 p.m. Day 23. "Tomorrow we prove we're not problems to be managed. We're people still contributing, still needed, still here." They went to bed early. The alarm was set for 6 a.m. Ptolemy slept on the couch, looking extraordinarily pleased with himself. Friday arrived with the particular clarity that comes from sleepless preparation. Harold wore his interview suit. The one from his retirement party, still pressed. Vivian chose the dress she'd worn to library fundraisers, the navy one that made her look professional without trying too hard. The courthouse steps felt steeper than they should have. Marcus arrived at 9:15 with Blake Sutherland and Dr. Raymond Chen. Marcus wore confidence like expensive cologne, the kind that announces itself before the wearer enters the room. He didn't look at Harold and Vivian. Judge Delacroix entered at 10 exactly. Her robe seemed to add 10 years and infinite authority. Blake presented first. The Ring camera footage played on the courtroom screen. Grainy, dramatic, 15 seconds that looked worse than Harold remembered. Dr. Chen's letter appeared next, printed on professional letterhead, with phrases like "concerning behavior patterns" and "age-appropriate supervision recommended." Hospital records followed. Blake emphasized stroke repeatedly, never mentioning transient or resolved. The $8,000 deposit became prudent emergency planning Marcus undertook to protect his vulnerable relatives from themselves. Blake called Dr. Chen to the stand. Chen spoke in the practiced monotone of someone who'd testified before. Generalizations about age-related decline and safety risks with power tools, unsupervised. His answers sounded rehearsed because they were. Iris stood for cross-examination. Her voice carried none of Blake's polish, just 40 years of reading documents others hoped would stay buried. "Doctor, when did you examine Mr. Brenner?" Chen shifted. "I didn't perform a physical examination." "Then your letter is based entirely on Mr. Brenner's description and news footage?" "That's standard practice for preliminary assessments. Did you review Mr. Brenner's medical records showing stable health for 8 years?" "I relied on the information provided, so no." Iris let the silence hold. "Your professional opinion is based on a nephew's description and 15 seconds of video. Nothing else." Judge Delacroix made a note. "Dr. Chen's testimony will be considered contextual, not diagnostic." Blake called Marcus next. Marcus described his concern for his uncle and aunt. The wandering, the stroke, their stubborn refusal to accept help. He spoke about difficult decisions and family responsibility, his voice carrying practiced sympathy. Blake presented the Meadowbrook contract, positioning Marcus as the caring nephew making impossible choices. Then Iris stood. "Mr. Brenner, you withdrew $8,000 from your uncle's account on what date?" Marcus checked his notes. "May 19th. Did Harold or Vivian authorize this withdrawal?" The courtroom went quiet in the way that meant everyone was listening. Iris approached the witness stand carrying her binder like a weapon she'd spent 40 years learning to wield. Marcus sat straighter, his practiced sympathy replaced by something harder. "Mr. Brenner, you withdrew $8,000 from your uncle's account on what date?" Marcus consulted his notes with the careful attention of someone buying time. "May 19th. Did Harold or Vivian authorize this withdrawal?" "I used the power of attorney Harold signed." Iris opened the binder, extracted the document, and held it up. This POA specifies emergency medical expenses only. Is a facility deposit a medical expense? Marcus's jaw tightened. It's related to medical care, but it's not a medical expense. It's a real estate transaction. Iris let the distinction settle. Did you discuss this withdrawal with Harold before taking their money? I acted in their best interest. That's not what I asked. Blake objected, but Judge Delacroix waved him down. Answer the question, Mr. Brenner. No, I didn't discuss it. Iris pulled out bank statements, not Harold's, but Marcus's own. You're 46 years old. You owe $127,000 from a failed real estate investment and divorce settlement. Creditors have placed liens on your property. Is that correct? Marcus's face flushed. My personal finances are irrelevant. You needed money. Your uncle has a paid-off house worth over $500,000. Convenient timing for guardianship, wouldn't you say? Blake stood. Speculation, Your Honor. Judge Delacroix considered, then nodded at Iris. I'll allow it. Continue. How many previous clients have you served as guardian? 2. Loretta Sims and Eugene Park? Yes. Where did they live during your guardianship? Marcus's voice flattened. Meadowbrook Senior Living. The same facility you've arranged for Harold and Vivian. Iris flipped pages. How long did Loretta and Eugene survive after placement? Loretta passed after 4 months. Eugene after 3. What happened to their assets? Their estates were liquidated to pay for care. Their houses were sold. Their savings depleted. And you collected guardian fees in both cases. How much? Marcus hesitated. Iris provided the documents for him, sliding them across to Judge Delacroix. $47,000 from Loretta Sims's estate, $38,000 from Eugene Parks. That's $85,000 in fees over 7 months of guardianship. Iris turned back to Marcus. And now, you're pursuing guardianship of your uncle, who has substantial assets. Should this court see a pattern? Blake objected strenuously, but the courtroom had gone quiet in the way that meant everyone had already drawn their own conclusions. Judge Delacroix's expression had shifted from neutral to something colder. We'll take lunch recess. 1 hour. Marcus left quickly, not meeting anyone's eyes. Blake followed, his briefcase held like a shield. Iris returned to where Harold and Vivian sat. Neither spoke. Vivian reached for Harold's hand. Phil Castellano, in the gallery behind them, gave Iris a single nod. Outside, 11 neighbors waited on the courthouse steps, holding the space like sentries. After lunch, the courtroom felt different, expectant, like weather before a storm breaks. Iris called Vivian first. Judge Delacroix leaned forward slightly. Mrs. Brenner, can you describe your daily activities? Vivian's voice was steady, the librarian's calm she'd cultivated over 33 years. I volunteer at Riverside Public Library Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 2. I run a tech literacy program for seniors, 8 regular students currently. Can you name them? Mrs. Okazaki is learning video calls to reach her granddaughter in Tokyo. Mr. Henderson started email after his wife died. He was isolated before. Ms. Rodriguez wanted to access her medical records online. Mr. Chen needs help with grocery delivery apps. Vivian continued through all 8, describing not just names, but specific goals, progress made, challenges overcome. Judge Delacroix made notes. And at home? Vivian described her binder system, medical records by year and provider, household maintenance by room, financial documents by account type. She presented her 23-day journal, Judge Delacroix read 3 entries aloud, each one detailed and lucid, time-stamped and competent. Harold testified next. Mr. Brenner, explain the wandering incident. Harold's voice carried the economy of someone who preferred showing to telling. Ptolemy, our cat, escaped through a bent screen door at 2:14 a.m. I spent 12 minutes tracking him through the cul-de-sac. Found him behind the Nguyen's recycling bin. Officer Daniels confirmed no concern. I wasn't wandering. I was problem-solving at 2 a.m. People my age don't stop thinking just because we're in bathrobes. He demonstrated the grab bar prototype. Motion sensors, LED integration, ADA compliance. His hands moved with the certainty of 50 years' practice. Judge Delacroix examined it herself, testing the weight-activated illumination. This is remarkable work, Mr. Brenner. Harold deflected. It's what Phil needed. Phil testified about the bathroom fall, his daughter's facility pressure, Harold's grab bar saving his independence. Carol described the neighborhood support system. Iris presented depositions from David Sims and Angela Park. Marcus's pattern laid bare across 3 families. 2 deaths, complete asset liquidation. At 3:30, Iris delivered her closing statement. Your Honor, this isn't about whether Harold and Vivian are aging. Everyone ages. This is about whether we strip people of autonomy the moment they're inconvenient, or whether we support them in living with dignity on their terms. Marcus Brenner has done this before. He'll do it again, unless this court stops him. Blake's rebuttal focused on safety, but his words felt hollow against the evidence. Judge Delacroix took 15 minutes reviewing her notes. Judge Delacroix reviewed her notes for 15 minutes. The courtroom held its breath. Even the air seemed reluctant to move. At 4 p.m. exactly, she looked up. The petition for guardianship is denied. Vivian's hand found Harold's. Behind them, someone exhaled audibly. The evidence shows Mr. Moore and Mrs. Brenner are competent, organized, and actively contributing to their community. The so-called wandering incident was a pet owner retrieving an escaped animal, not evidence of cognitive decline. Mr. Brenner's TIA was a resolved medication interaction, managed appropriately by medical professionals and the Brenners themselves. Judge Delacroix's voice hardened. Furthermore, this court is deeply troubled by Mr. Marcus Brenner's unauthorized use of limited power of attorney to withdraw $8,000 and his pattern of prior guardianship cases resulting in rapid asset liquidation. I am referring this matter to the State Bar for ethics investigation and to the District Attorney's Office for potential elder exploitation charges. The $8,000 must be returned to Harold and Vivian Brenner within 7 days. Marcus stood abruptly. Blake touched his arm, but Marcus shook him off and left through the rear doors. Blake followed, briefcase held like armor. This court finds no basis for guardianship and commends Ms. Kowalski's intervention. Her documentation likely prevented a grave injustice. The courtroom erupted in restrained celebration, the kind elderly people make when they know nobody's listening anyway. That evening, 11 neighbors filled the Brenners' living room with potluck casseroles and cautious joy. Phil brought wine he'd been saving. Carol organized plates. Ptolemy wandered through collecting pets and looking extraordinarily pleased with himself, as though he'd planned the entire thing. 4 months later, Harold installed his 20th grab bar, this one for Judge Delacroix's elderly mother, who'd mentioned her balance problems during a chance encounter at the hardware store. Dignity Devices had become a non-profit with help from a patent attorney moved by their story. The illuminated grab bar was in production. 17 seniors across 3 counties were using Harold's inventions. Vivian ran community outreach from the dining room table, connecting people who needed adaptive equipment with the resources to obtain it. Her tech literacy program had expanded to 2 sessions weekly. Mrs. Okazaki video called her granddaughter in Tokyo every Sunday now. Iris worked as operations manager. Turned out, reading insurance fine print translated perfectly to managing patents and grant applications. She'd moved into the garage apartment the Brenners converted, paying rent but gaining family. Her 12-year-old Civic looked less apologetic parked beside their modest home. Marcus Brenner faced disbarment hearings. The Sims and Park cases had been reopened. The district attorney was building elder fraud charges that would likely result in prison time, not just professional consequences. Vivian's journal had 147 entries now. Each one documented competence through daily detail, proof that aging didn't equal uselessness, that needing help wasn't the same as needing control. On a Tuesday afternoon in September, Harold stood in his workshop finishing a custom walker for the Richardsons' father. Integrated storage, ergonomic grips, weight distributed to reduce strain. Beautiful and functional. Dignity through engineering. Ptolemy slept on the windowsill, watching Harold work the way cats do, with the certainty that their presence improves everything. Outside, Carol checked her Ring camera footage and smiled. The Brenners were home, doing exactly what they'd always done. Building things that helped people maintain their dignity. Sometimes the system worked when someone forced it to pay attention. Sometimes one person's paper trail saved more than just themselves.